Yo, what's going on, guys? We are into module 3, location. Let's get it. Boom. All right, cool. So one of the biggest things you guys need to understand is that event spaces are a need-based real estate business. So with any real estate business, everything is location, location, location. Therefore, your prices must reflect the location. I know about here in New York, for example, here in Brooklyn, one of the boroughs, Brownsville is one of the, less appreciated, to be politically correct, less appreciated, not gentrified as yet neighborhoods here in Brooklyn. However, Park Slope is a very, very affluent neighborhood. So if you have an event space that's in Brownsville, your prices have to reflect that. And of course, the rent that you pay has to reflect that as well, so that you can have a nice, healthy profit margin. And then the same thing with Park Slope. Since it's a more affluent neighborhood, of course, you can therefore charge more. One of the major keys to take away right now is that you have to use market comps to determine if you're getting a good deal. It's got to make sense. Guys, market comps is something that you guys are going to hear me say over and over and over again throughout these modules. Market comps are very, very important. I've noticed the people who do take the time to look at market comps and see what the market is telling them, as well as competition is telling them, are the ones that get ahead and know how to put out their space appropriately. You have to be wise. You have to know your budget and be cognizant of the neighborhood. Is this the right location for you and your business? So your event space shouldn't be any more than 20-minute commute from your house, or you should have an on-call manager or staff, not only in case of an emergency. If you are a beginner, I'm not really a fan of having the on-call manager and staff, simply because at the beginning of your business life cycle, you should be there hand and foot, making sure that you understand everything about your business. You should be there in the front lines, seeing if things go wrong, how people enjoy your space, what are the possible pitfalls, et cetera, et cetera. You should be there basically to learn more about your business. That's it. If you have an on-call manager or staff, they can charge you for whatever, tell you for whatever you're not going to know, because you're new to this, basically. Another thing I want you guys to do is you have to be familiar with the neighborhood bureaucratic facilities such as the community board, precinct, etc. The reason I want you guys to be familiar with these is because you need to know who to reach out to for certain municipalities, certain laws, certain jurisdictions, etc., etc. You want to know, all right, cool, if something's going down, do I call the precinct? Let me call the precinct. If certain zoning I need to be aware of, should I go with the community board, things like that. The planning board, the zoning board. Every town, every municipality is different. Every zone is different. I can't really speak on people who live in, say, for example, Kentucky or Arkansas or California, because we live here in New York. However, the motion is the same. Be familiar with those who are in positions of power in your neighborhood and who basically call the shots. Zoning. Zoning is a really, really big thing. It's a big thing that a lot of people ask me questions on. Zoning can be found in your city's Department of Buildings website. For example, for Google, search DOB Building Information Search. That's for NYC, but it might work for your location as well. But start with that. Use this to pull up the property records, then locate the space you are looking to lease and verify if the zoning is appropriate. So basically, I know here in New York City, what it normally pulls up this website called ACRIS, ACRIS. What that does is you're able to basically pull up the C of O, the certificate of occupancy, which tells you the zoning of each commercial space in your building. With that, you can see if the space that you're looking for matches the space that's on that you need for your event space. Generally, you're looking for the commercial overlay, or food and drink establishment, cabaret, manufacturing zone, even banquet zone. Your NICS code is 561920. That's your business activity classification. A lot of people are going to need that when you're looking to get your LLC or your EIN, your NICS code. Very, very important. Again, guys, you want to make sure that you're looking for that commercial overlay. It could be food and drink establishment, cabaret, manufacturing zone, even retail, because it's an event space. What to look for in a good location. So I have a little mnemonic device for you guys. Good location. These are actually two event spaces that I'm personally familiar with. So to keep it confidential, I kept their names out of it. But the first thing is geography. As I already mentioned, location, location, location. The second one is obvious. It must look like a venue. Now, I don't want to put anybody's business out there, but the first location, yes, is indeed an event space. The second one is an event space as well. And I'm pretty sure by just looking at the first one, you would really have no idea that it is an event space. The third thing, though, however, I'm leading to is the oh wow factor. So even if it doesn't look like a venue, it has to have that oh wow factor. Basically saying when people come in, they're like, oh wow, they're surprised. Now the picture on the bottom is actually a basement right here. This one's actually a basement. So a lot of people, when they come in and they see the space, they're obviously surprised because it looks amazing. It's beautiful. You see everybody's decked out, has the LED lights, all white canvas. It looks beautiful. It's so funny because we actually just did a drop off at this location this past weekend. The fourth one, guys, is deal. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. For example, going back to the Parksville versus Brownsville location, paying Parksville price for a Brownsville location, it's got to make sense, guys. It's got to be a good deal. Where to find your next event space, guys? This is very, 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 very important. You don't understand when people message me all the time talking about, hey, I don't know where to look for a good location. It's very, very simple, guys. There are times that I just look on these websites just for fun, just to see what's out there, just to basically, again, know the market, keep in tune with it, see what's going on. Because you never know when you could find a good deal. A landlord could be really, really desperate. They just had a really bad tenant and they just want to put at a good rate just to make sure that they get the right tenants in there. Guys, check this out. One of the biggest things is Craigslist, and I am going to be including a screen share video at the bottom of this module so you guys can see exactly how I go about it. So one of the biggest things is Craigslist. Craigslist and LoopNet are my top two go-tos for event spaces. You can basically find anything on these on Craigslist, and then for LoopNet, it's more specific for commercial spaces. And it breaks down everything very, very easily. The price per square footage, the usage, the zoning, things like that. It's very, very useful. Craigslist, you kind of more have to do a little bit more of your own research. They just kind of post the pictures and the information, but then you can always just reach out to the broker or the landlord and see more for yourself. The third thing is local, guys. Local is literally just driving around looking for deals. There's a lot of places that aren't online for whatever reason. Maybe landlords just too lazy or they just don't know how. But there's a lot of times that you can just find really good deals in your own neighborhood just by searching around and looking for a for rent sign. Literally commercial space for rent by owner, et cetera, et cetera. The fourth one is, guys, brokers and agents. Now I'm actually including a comprehensive list of questions to ask your broker and agent when when you do meet up with them, because these are good questions that you want to know. You want to ask them, such as utilities and things like that, things to know what you're getting into when you get into that space. So you definitely want to check out that list of questions, which is added for you guys at the bottom of this module. So brokers and agents, the great thing about brokers and agents is that they have their own network. So even if you're going to see a space, they can always point you in the direction of other spaces. Now, with that being said, of course, they might not always fit your itinerary or criteria, whatever the case may be, but it's a lead. It's a lead nevertheless. So if you're looking for space A, they might point you to space B saying, hey, I have this space over here. And that's exactly actually how I found my Fulton location. I was looking at one space and the agent said, hey, I have this space over here, and it ended up working out for me and I got it. The fifth one is brokerage websites. Brokerage websites basically is the website for your brokers and agents. Sometimes if they work, like say for example, they work for ABC Realty, you can check their website and see what else they have in their portfolio. Usually the way brokers work is they usually work in one particular area. So say for example, you're in like San Diego, California, and you line out yourself up with a realtor. They might have a website and their website will have other commercial spaces in San Diego, California. So the biggest thing, guys, is you want to keep your eyes open. Tips on how to use these platforms. Now, again, guys, I definitely want you guys to check out that screen share. But one of the biggest things that I want you guys to do is always inflate your parameters. Brokers purposely boost pricing simply to leave room for negotiation. So the landlord might be looking for $3,000 a month, but they boost it up to $3,500, $4,000. One, because the bigger commission check for them, and two, just to leave room so people can haggle. The second thing is that you guys have to understand that steals lurk everywhere, so you cannot be afraid to widen your scope in terms of sizing, lease term, neighborhoods, etc. Just because you're looking for one particular location doesn't mean that there's a good deal right one zip code right over. Always keep your scope open. I've seen people not find a space for weeks on end just because their parameters were so tight. They're looking for a space at 3,000 square feet. They literally only put 3,000 square feet. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is, and you guys probably heard me talk about this on Instagram, or if you're in ESI, you probably heard me talk about this in ESI. One of the biggest things is the difference between gross and net usable square footage. Sorry about that, guys. Gross square footage is basically the total amount of square footage available. Net usable square footage is what you're basically allowed to use. Now, your net usable square footage is different from your client's net usable square footage. For example, if you're renting a space that's 4,000 square feet gross, if you're renting a space that's 4,000 square feet gross, you might use a portion of it for storage, a portion of it might be for a basement, portion of it might be for the bathrooms, leaving the rest available for the client. That's their net usable square footage. If you're renting from a landlord and they have 4,000 square feet that's being rented to you, maybe a part of that is commercial area, is a common area, or maybe a portion of that just isn't reachable for whatever reason. Then whatever is left after that is net usable square footage for you. But usually the net usable square footage and the gross square footage is pretty close when it comes to the landlord to the client, which would be you. But from you to the client that you're renting to, it's a little different. Hope that makes sense, guys. Stop looking for the perfect space. It does not exist. Always, always, always look for cash flow. Again, just to kind of go over that gross square footage versus net usable square footage, a lot of times the landlords or the brokers, whoever's basically listing the space, they do it a little differently. I've been on certain road calls where I've seen spaces that was posted for 3,000 square feet when it actually turns out to be 3,500 square feet because they didn't even include one portion. They didn't include the basement, they didn't include the office, they didn't include the attic for whatever reason. So at the end of the day, guys, you guys just got to keep your eyes open and make sure that you know what you're getting.